I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me. Better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape, find almost anything. All it takes is some time and some clarity to find your identity. It's mind over everything. And when I feel like this, I'm immortal. 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 Don't stop, just keep it up, don't stop. I'm so gone, no I'm never turning back. I won't stop, I'ma fight until there's nothing left. It's so what? You're gonna be hurting bad, cause I've been to hell and back. You don't wanna make me mad, I stay strong. You will never see me crack. And if you get in my way, you gonna feel the wrath. Gotta say it to my face while he's looking back. Mirror breaks after math, when I hate I attack. And when I feel like this, I'm immortal. 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 Don't stop, just keep it up, don't stop.
Howdy, Casey. Hello, everyone. Black, Andrew. Hi, everyone. John, Sky. I hope everybody's here and been notified. I've been told again, people are not being notified when I go live. Sometimes they get notified when I'm done, so I made sure everyone are notified before we get started. We are also about to have a community members meeting once we're done with this, maybe with a 10-minute gap in between, but I decided before we go and have the community meeting, I want to have and sort of do this little live and share with the public, since I haven't gone live in a couple of days. For those who wonder why the sort of slower and lower rate of content is because next week I have a birthday and I'm gonna be a big girl now, and that's just a joke. Unfortunately, nowadays it's a bad joke. So, but yeah, what's gonna happen is that I'm gonna sort of taking a little bit time off. Usually it's towards the end of August and the beginning of September, and I slow down the rate of content. But given the market behavior and where we're at, I thought it's gonna be a good idea to at least make something live, so everybody's gonna be preview to it. Those who don't know, by the way, there's a 65% discount on the community right now. If you're not a member yet, now is definitely the time to sign up. Let me in fact show you. If you go to patreon.com/ you get /investory, sorry, patreon.com/investory, INVESTORY. So that's the name. That's how you get to my page. You're gonna be met with this sort of little thingy, and if you go here to the 2 tiers, you can join in. Right now you can see they're both 50% discounted. That's only for 10 more days, well, including today, so let's call it 9.5 days. And if you choose to go annual, it becomes even cheaper. It's $24 for that first year. So yeah, I think it's the first year, if I'm not mistaken. It's for the first year. Afterwards, I think it changes, if I'm not mistaken. I hope I'm not mistaken about any of the stuff I'm saying, because it looks different sometimes for different people, and I hope I'm not mistaken about the nature of the discount. I think it is annual, right? It's not just like, it's for the time of the subscription, and then after the next year, I think it changes, right? So, and yeah, that's the channel. Make sure you're subscribed, you're aware of all the content, lives, shorts. There's also plenty of content that you guys don't necessarily get to see, because some of it is, ad-free, exclusive for the community. Make sure you're aware of that. That is all for the promos and stuff, so everybody will be able to see it. Not gonna say I didn't mention. So it's only 9 more days for that 50% discount. Make sure to take advantage of it. Now, where we are at the market. 1 minute is not all that substantial. I think it sort of doesn't matter. It doesn't matter within that framework of things of how far, or just 1 minute is basically going to be all over the place, even though right now it's more bearish, and it is actually quite indicative, and it's maybe a good sort of point in time where we caught it, where it may sort of allow the price action to slip out of the current range we are within, which we have to tend to and talk about for a second. We still do have a leftover gap right above us that is roughly around right there. We can call it 6411 to 6408. So it's a tiny little gap. The thing with this is that at times, and especially when the price action over the longer period is going to go down, it's not that natural, it's not that good, it is worrisome, and yes, we also have a couple of cents left over there. To continue the price action going downwards before the gaps are closed. But there is a little but. Once these levels have been tested multiple times, which unfortunately we see these have been, or rather fortunately have been already tested multiple times, the very same sort of levels, right? Although that's the higher end, the higher tier of that sort of range we're moving within the framework of. As you guys know, we have multiple support and resistance levels. I'm just using this because it's sort of clean for right now. And so we still have the worry of the closure of the gaps. So let's tend to how the momentum is, how the setup of the momentum looks like right now, to be able to understand whether these gaps are more likely to get closed soon. And we basically just moved to a lower tier of the range, and we're going to hit back up to close these gaps, and only then maybe going to be permitted to move downwards or upwards. We'll see what sort of price action momentum is dictating. So let's go to the 5 minutes. 5 minutes becomes just slightly more interesting because we can kind of see towards the end of the session here and maybe towards the beginning of tomorrow, now that we have Jackson Hole in full swing. I guess sentiment will be swaying back and forth, although at the end of the day, that's the beauty of the technical analysis and how the momentum set up, because it's going to show what is the play for the longer duration, which means it already has considered Jackson Hole, what is going to be sort of said, and at the end of the day, it's going to play out that larger cyclical behavior rather than be affected by the noise, by the daily noise that we're going to get from the Fed, or if it's just the talking heads, the media, whatever. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it won't matter that much. So, hi, Nannies, by the way. Hello, hello. Good to see you. I'm very glad to see you here. Nannies is one of our admins on the Discord. By the way, the Discord is 100% private, and she is absolutely a magician and helping me a huge ton. Without her, I would be without hands, and the rest of the admins as well. So thank you all, admins. I appreciate all the help a ton, a huge ton, metric ton. So 45 minutes becomes a little bit more indicative and a little bit more interesting to where we're going, simply because it's a longer duration play, as we said. And as we see, we haven't yet hit the 50 range. We've already been quite bearish, given that confluence of the forces, and now we're sort of bearish dominant, moving towards the 50, broke through the 80, which means we're headed towards that bearish range faster and faster and faster, and the divergence appears to be pretty clear when it comes to the direction that we're moving right now. So it's pretty likely we're going to end up there within, I would arguably say, probably towards the end of this session, and maybe even throughout tomorrow's session. This appears to be sort of more bearish. And we warned about this just in yesterday's meeting. Yesterday we had a wonderful meeting and a hangout in the community. Yes, we have these. They're not daily nowadays, but every other day whenever I have some free time in between meetings and whatnot. Between the one-on-one sessions, if I have some free time, I just come in, we hang out, and sometimes it ends up being hours on end that we sit there, answer questions, shoot at each other, all sorts of things. So yeah, Polina, thank you very much. Great session yesterday. Leo, and the rest of you who came in to hang out. So Andrew as well, I remember you were there as well. Sky, thank you very much. Great hangout. I hope you enjoyed as well. Today we're going to have, those who haven't heard, we're going to have a members hangout right after this, maybe with a 10-20 minute gap, hopefully pretty quick. So as you can see, the 1 hour setup is also starting to look a lot more bearish, as I was predicting for it to become just the other day. I was saying, like, look, we are almost there at that confluence moment, which may even take a little while, but far more probable to sort of break down given that bearish momentum that we saw prior to. Which is playing out pretty neatly. We see that internal structure of head and shoulders, pretty normal, right? That is pretty normal behavior for the market. But we also realize there's an overarching, larger sort of structure hidden probably below the surface, which is going to play out rather soon, or may even be very steep. It doesn't have to be. Oftentimes when I do draw these things, I tend to draw them out with this almost textbook-like trend, direction, or steepness, right? Simply so you can see more of the chart and there'll be less noise, but in reality we know the price action when it goes downwards it's far more steeper, far quicker than it goes upwards. Basically we say it goes up by the stairs and drops down by the elevator, or as I say, it accumulates via droplets and breaks down in buckets, sort of, spills buckets, rather accumulates droplets. Slow versus fast. Pretty simple idea. And we are overturning, so this seems to be what we're going to have tomorrow. So tomorrow appears to be a lot more bearish and flowing into the weekend, so we'll see how next week will start. But here, when we transition to the 4 hour, we basically see a little bit of a larger picture of things, and in fact we basically are already looking into next week potentially. Well, more probably than not we're looking into tomorrow, but also into next week. So if we're going to look at this momentum, which looks very, very tight, we can see again confluence of forces, which is very normal. Once we complete an entire sort of leg downwards or upwards, it's pretty normal. We have the confluence of forces, sort of the momentum chill down for a little bit, either for a continuation of the very same momentum or a pickup and a change in direction. Given what we're seeing right here, again, we're having confluence of forces giving way to that bullish momentum, bearish momentum rather, sorry, bullish momentum is about to give way because it's dominant right now. There are no other options here. Once bullish gives way, bearish takes over. And if we're bearish in oversold territory, as you can see, oversold territory is below 20, below the 20% range on the stochastic RSI, which signifies us being in accelerated bearish momentum. To put it in simple terms, again, there's a reason why it's called oversold territories, when we are selling far more than we are buying for, I mean, not just us, but the overall market. This is the momentum we're seeing in this particular range of time. That's also very important to highlight, because it signifies the smaller sort of scale of cyclicality within this whole thing. Because as we can now see, now that we zoomed out a little bit, that very same head and shoulders that was gigantic now becomes very, very sort of tiny piece of the whole thing, while in reality there is even a larger scale sort of harmonic pattern that is hidden behind the scenes. Harmonic pattern, why? Because the candlesticks move in harmony to create a certain structure, right? So that's why it's so it's called harmonic pattern. It's a pattern that the forces all together move in harmony to create a structure of sorts. Now, which oftentimes actually represents our sentiment in reality. It's pretty simple. The whole idea of it is, this is a visual representation of how our sentiment and psychology is playing out right now. So that's the beauty of it, by the way. So here we can see, as we moved up to the daily time frame, we can see we are full on bearish, and we are moving towards that 50 range, which past that 50 range everything becomes more, well, bearish really. everything above 50 is bullish, right? Everything here is bullish. Yeah, I don't have room there, and this is bearish, okay? Well, with this, so ish, okay? So you got the idea? And if we're saying the very same thing, so if this is bullish and this is bearish, this is bullish on steroids and this is bearish on steroids, meaning accelerated, and also very much depends on what gear we're in, because again, if we are in bearish territory but bullish dominant, you're kind of going to get the mixture of both forces, which means none of them will be dominant. In this instance, we're hurtling towards that 50 range, which becomes more bearish, objectively emphasizes the speed, the relative sort of speed, if you will, the average speed that we have, allowing us to identify that we are now selling more than we are buying as a whole. Now, and the beauty of the daily time frame, that it literally allows us to glimpse into next week, simply given that this, if we're looking at this directional movement already, we can predict how tomorrow's structure will look like. Very probable, given the bearish nature of the smaller time frames we had, because these are sort of predicting and showing what will be a part of this. So if these are more bearish, there will be more bearish print, if you will, of that very behavior within this structure, leading to this look even more bearish than it was before, because all of that momentum will play into this, right? There will be a time, as the more we move in time, every second, every moment that passes by, the closer we get to that moment where things sort of, print into whatever that we're seeing, right? With every second, with every moment, you can literally see them going by. So, on the weekly time frame, the weekly time frame is the one that is slightly confusing, simply because we are having the confluence of forces right here. If we look right up to the top, objectively speaking, we are right now in bullish territory, but then again, we are bearish dominant, and no, we have not yet had the convergence of the forces. We are still objectively bearish. And so I want to highlight that if all that bearish momentum will start printing very shortly, this leg, although very unlikely to now open up, although it may end up, if tomorrow going to be rather bearish as well, instead of having that confluence structure that we're having right there, instead it will either open up a little bit like in this drawing below, right, just kind of like this leg of things, which will then prevent them from the convergence moment and remaining dominance of bearish momentum. And then sort of, if I want to draw out how it will look like, if I just could, I'm gonna use this. Let's see if I can. It's gonna look more like almost opening up versus this. That's going to be, let's see if I can sort of look like so. You know what? Let's just make them obvious. So imagine this leg of things will look like so versus this will look like so. That is almost the idea. Or rather, it can play out this way. I'm not saying this is going to play out this way, but given the bearish nature of everything we're seeing in smaller time frames, this may end up looking exactly like this, retaining the dominance of the bearish momentum over the longer range, continuing to bring us lower and lower and lower, right? You can kind of see how from afar that will look like, okay? Now you get the idea. Okay, so remember, this all relies on the idea that even if it's not going to happen this time around and we have some confluence, that is rather normal. We do have these processes that doesn't matter. They can happen around the range, they can happen at the top, they can happen in various sort of locations, even sometimes, if you want to see, even at the bottom on the way up, sometimes at the peak, sometimes at the edge, doesn't matter. We can have them in various locations, right? Normally, as you can see, they happen around the top. Once we complete an entire wave, which actually is a long duration, it sort of has that confluence back and forth, the letting go of the momentum and the transition to the other side, or rather the other directionality, okay? Now, which also plays very neatly into that head and shoulder structure that we already saw hints to, and potentially somewhat predictable nature of. Now, monthly is very important. Monthly is still bearish bullish, because technically speaking we are just about to cross into that bullish territory, and that is merely a print of what we've done so far, which you have to acknowledge the fact of the matter that we went all the way from 4,800 all the way up here. So that is a print of that. It doesn't mean that it's naturally signifying what is up to come, because we have to remember the monthly falls into the grander picture, and the problem we have right now is not really with the monthly, but rather with the larger time frames, which are coming to confluence. Just as we said, on the smaller time frames we can see something very, very similar, but on a larger scale of things, which means longer duration. We're seeing confluence, which is very, very sort of unnerving for those who are unaware and don't understand these things. But this is very significant. Why? Because the momentum here basically potentially flips over, changes direction. Coincidentally, we're doing that at the major crossing point, if you will, at a major intersection of things. This is a golden pocket of a Fibonacci retracement on a large scale, so it's very important. These support and resistance levels are supremely significant. They are basically the major support and resistance levels that the market obeys by. If you want to know more, sign up for my one-on-one academy. You can inquire in the Discord, of course, through the Patreon, whichever way, and I'll tell you more about it. The simple gist of it is just like one-on-one classes for your kid, whether it's math or English or whatever subject you choose. But here we do technical analysis. Everything I do here, and far more in depth, many more tools, many more aspects of technical analysis, one-on-one, not just videos or something. It's you and I having one-on-one sessions, meetings on Discord, where I share screen, talk to you, explain to you how things work, and why the larger sort of bigger picture matters so much, how it looks like, what the play is. And so yeah, the more we look into these things, as you can see, I just now highlighted that on the 6 months, and the more we go into the 12 months, we realize this is the bigger picture of things, the bigger cyclicality, the bigger sort of picture of what is going on. Similarly, so we can identify there is a potential head and shoulders hidden below the surface here, and you can recognize that's part of the thesis of why we may end up going all the way to 3,300. Yes, if you haven't heard me say that before, at least on the S&P 500, we may end up breaking all the way to 3,300 and even slightly lower, because there's not a particular line of support. It's rather a range. It's 33. In fact, it's 3369.63, I think, and 3232.62, if I'm not mistaken, if it's set all correctly. And so there's plenty of way down still, and we're just getting started. It's almost like we're close enough to the ocean to smell it, but we're not seeing it yet, right? We're getting there. We're getting into that transitional point where the market starts to basically break down simply due to the lack of momentum, or if you want to understand it better, momentum is buying force, right? So the more the market runs out of buying force, and eventually the institutions give way, in fact start liquidating, as we've been seeing for the past months. And I don't know if you guys noticed, I don't know if you noticed, but I've been warning you how there will come this moment how everybody will start, all the YouTubers, schmootubers will start telling you how they warned you months in advance on how this is coming, and you should be prepared, this and that, and all sorts of bullshit. Well, in reality, we all know no one knew this is coming, rather just only very few people, such as myself, people who talk about these aspects of the market and are familiar with the proper technical analysis methods. So there's that. Now, before we continue, again, another quick reminder to join the community in case for some reason you go to the Patreon, patreon.com/investory, and it doesn't allow you to get a discount. But remember, it's only for first sign up. It's for new members, rather. It does not apply for people who already have a membership. I told you, dear members, I'm working on it. I'll have you sorted. We're working out something, maybe a whole new tier for you that you'll be able to transition to and remain pretty much all the benefits you have already. If it's the 2 meetings a week, 1 meeting, depending, on each their own tier and all that, and maybe even benefit from that, and also have a decreased price. I'm working on something for that also, which means if you haven't not yet signed up, it's imperative you will sign up. So when that discount for the already existent members comes out, you'll be able to take advantage of that as well. Even if it's slightly better than the current package you're in, you'll be able to switch over, I believe. All right, that's that. What else? I believe that's it. Also, those who wonder why we're no longer doing individual stock analysis on the channel, on the lives, we're no longer doing that. This is a privilege and a benefit only the community members get. We basically still do that just for the community members, and individual meetings specifically, aimed at that sort of thing where the members ask for tickers and we analyze whatever stocks they have in mind. That's it, boys and girls. I think I'm going to leave you all with that. As I said, I'm going to be slightly less active within the following couple of weeks. It does not mean I'm not going to be here at all. In fact, that doesn't mean that at all. You guys know I'm a workaholic and I basically cannot stay away, right? So, but still be attentive, because I'm not going to be doing something every other day or every day, but when I will be doing it's going to be quite important for you to be sort of up to speed, check out, and definitely if you want to be more up to speed, like I said, join the community. I talk to my members. I put about 70 to 80% of all my efforts into the community, sometimes even 90%, and that's why you see me less active on YouTube. That's it, boys and girls. Hope to see you in the community, in the Discord, and Patreon, and all that beautiful stuff. Don't forget to smash the like. All the links are in the description below. Oh, and that's it. Love